Think about a song that takes you back in time. Music can take us from the present moment to a distant memory. Music can take us from one point in time to a completely different era. Music is the ultimate form of time travel. Here's your brain. Musical responses happen all over the brain. Major advances in technology have allowed scientists and researchers to actually witness brain activity and response to music in real time. Now we know that large-scale neural networks are activated when someone listens to music. This includes, but is definitely not limited to, the auditory cortex in our temporal lobe, where we process sound, the cerebellum, that deals with reflex, balance, and rhythm, the parietal lobe, which involves sensation, perception, and visual sensory input, and the limbic system that houses emotional reactions and long-term memory. There's so much we know, but so much that is yet to be discovered. One thing's for sure, music has enormous power to influence brain activity and can bring us back to powerful and meaningful moments in our lives in an instant.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
The good old days. Life used to be so much easier. Things were better back then. Things will never go back to the way they used to be. Those were the best days of my life. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
For centuries, music has been written about the past, whether it's about a specific memory,
I got my first real six string,
a specific place,
sweet home Alabama,
a specific person,
I will remember you,
or just a general sense of nostalgia.
sweet Caroline, good time never seemed so good.
But music doesn't have to reference a specific person, event, or time in the past in order to be nostalgic or transport us back in time when we listen to it. Music is such an integral part of our everyday lives that we make strong associations with music as we go through life. We remember songs that our parents or our older siblings and relatives listened to when we were very young. We remember songs that were popular in the summers of our teenage years. We remember songs we fell in love to, and we remember songs that we listened to when we went through breakups. We spend huge amounts of time choosing things like our wedding songs or music we want to play at our funeral. We remember songs that we hated in our youth, but later grew to love simply because of the time and place that we associate it with. I know I will often go out of my way to listen to something I'd consider a bad song simply because it reminds me of a place, person, or event in my life.
I'm blue, I've been deed, I've been died, I've been deed, I've been died, I've been deed, I've been died.
Our associations with music are unique to each of us, and it's impossible to try and guess what a specific piece of music might mean to someone else. However, we'll try a little experiment. I'm going to play songs from different eras in the 20th and 21st centuries. If you don't recognize a particular song, that's okay, but if you do and you have a strong association with it, you'll know right away. Take a second and explore what that particular song means to you and how it makes you feel.
Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
More than this, I did it my way.
I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand. You are the dancing queen. I can still remember how that music used to make me smile.
Touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
It's too late, but I want it that way. Can't read my, no, we can't read my poker face. She's got me like nobody. Wake me up when September ends.
For this last song, it might not matter when you were born or when you grew up.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
Music also has the power to transcend time. You don't have to have been born in a specific year to have an association with a certain song. Many songs have been musically recycled and have been wildly popular in 2, even 3 different generations.
A little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
There is no right or wrong way to feel about a specific piece of music. Music's ability to form a lifelong connection to us is unique. It transcends time, and it can be the only thing that transports us back in time to a long-forgotten memory, or perhaps bring a brief moment of lucidity for those suffering from a debilitating illness like dementia or Alzheimer's. Today's episode features our dear friend and colleague Dr. Alice Hong, performing her arrangement of Danny Boy from her balcony in Atlanta, Georgia. Alice is a brilliant violinist, award-winning composer, and founder of Project Mainstream, a collective of musicians aiming to bridge the gap between classical and pop music. For more information on Alice and Project Mainstream, you can find links to her websites at the end of the video and in the description below.
Have you ever had a moment of forgetting? Forgetting the simplest of things. Names, dates, faces, facts. How troubling is it to forget? How troubling is it to know the information is there, somewhere? I know it's here. I'm sure I just left it here. It's on the tip of my tongue. I definitely know the answer, it's just not coming to me. I'm sorry, I don't remember you. Have we met? Many of us can relate to momentary memory lapses, but many of us cannot even begin to imagine losing precious information and details about the lives we've lived. Treasured memories can disappear. Years of experiences can be lost. Dementia can be an unforgiving thief. Memory loss, whether the result of a traumatic brain injury or perhaps a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, can be brutally heartbreaking. Loss of ability to retrieve long and short-term memories can be devastating beyond words. But sometimes, music can act as a key to unlocking memories and connecting to events of the past. Sometimes, music can provide a bridge to precious moments in a way that no words can do alone. Mary had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 2 years ago. She was 85 years old, a survivor of war, famine, polio, the loss of a child, and the loss of her husband. I learned all of this from her daughter, whom I spoke to on occasion when our paths would cross. The first time I met Mary, I was told by the nursing staff that she would likely not say much, if anything, and that she spent most of her time in bed or in her wheelchair, watching TV in her room. The first time I met Mary, I was told to manage my expectations of what music therapy might be able to offer her. Mary's room was adorned with photos of her family, 2 adult daughters, grandchildren, and the picture of a child, her first son, whom she lost shortly after childbirth. I noticed a statue of Saint Teresa, a bouquet of flowers, a collection of Lewis Carroll books, a beautiful handmade Afghan lying across her bed. She was sitting up in her wheelchair when I first walked in. I sat next to her, telling her I was so happy to meet her, to spend time with her, to sing to her. She made eye contact. I never want to assume I can choose music that can connect a person to their identity, especially a person with memory loss. Using music that could potentially trigger a negative or traumatic association could leave a person feeling powerless and out of control. I tried asking Mary about music she was connected to. She stared blankly at me. I asked her if I could sing and play my violin. Silence. I waited. Okay, she shrugged. You can play. Connection. The following week I went to see her and found her daughter with her in her room. I introduced myself. Mary smiled. Have we met? She asked. I said we had. Mary shook her head. I'm Mary, she said, and you are... I'm SarahRose, I said. And who are you? She asked, looking at her daughter. Mom, it's me. It's Anne, she said emphatically. Mary frowned. Anne sighed. And would you mind if I joined you for a short visit? I'm the music therapist here. Anne nodded. Mom loves music, but she doesn't remember much these days. But do you know any Irish songs? I smiled, I pulled out my violin, I gave it a quick tune and held it up to my shoulder. I began to play Danny Boy. Mary locked eyes with me. She began to sing, softly. Each and every word, quiet but clear as a bell. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw tears running down Anne's face. At the end of the first verse, I put my fiddle down and began to pluck an accompaniment on the strings. Mary continued to sing. I added a gentle harmony with my voice. And I shall hear, though soft you tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me. I put my violin down on my lap. I've always loved that song, Mary smiled. I used to sing it to Anne when she was a little girl, she said, reaching out to hold her daughter's hand. Remember that, Anne? My mother would sing it to me, but that was so many years ago. Remember, Anne? Anne wiped her eyes. I remember, Mom, and I'm so glad you remember, too.